my, this series just amazes me to no end. It really does. The perfect blend of comedy and depression. It's just so good. So good. Just like with last week's episode, first half focusing on depressing themes, and then the second half becoming bright, this episode does something very similar, but the opposite. It starts off happy and go lucky, and then it turns into something very depressing with a bigger message. And overall, the series continues to stun me with the messages and the themes, the way it uses its art and animation. One of the best scenes of this episode was the bridge scene. That's the big scene that stood out to me. When the main male character, he reveals that he moved in to this place. He's been alone, and when he first got here, everything was black and white. And when you usually think of black and white usually represents good and evil. But in this sense, that's not what black and white means for this series. Black and white, when the main male character said that all he sees is that, all the buildings, all the colors, everything, black and white, he was stating that everything is monotone to him. Everything is a lack of emotion. Nothing really gives him life. Nothing makes him happy. Nothing really makes him express himself to where he can smile. Everything just feels dead, or just not even there. It's just something like a dream. And he goes on to saying when he finally crossed that bridge and he met Akari and he met her family, color started to bloom. And this representation shows that they are his light. It's something he has never had. He's been living a very lonely life, majority of his life, by himself. Even though he got raised up by a step family, it wasn't like there was his real family, because they didn't really treat him properly, as you can see through some of the little flashbacks we got of him. And so he's always been kind of alone. No one's really understood him. And when he finally meets Akari and her family, he has this light pop up. And this light, the reason why he gains it is because someone finally told him, you could come on over. Now, he even states he doesn't know if they really want him to come over or not. It could be just them trying to say that to be nice. But he says it's just the thought of them saying that makes him happy. Something that gives him a light, hope. And it's so beautiful the way the representation of that was done with the color scheme of that scene. And the way it's kind of just displayed to us of how the main male character, how different he is. So let's talk about, one of the big things about the first episode. In the first episode, it showcases our main male character being a very mature child. For instance, he's a young kid in school still, but he's very mature for his age. And the reason for that is because he was forced to grow up rather too quickly for his age, thanks to his past events. For instance, his parents dying. And from what we could assume from this, second episode, is they died from a car wreck. He was left alone, eventually adopted by a father and a family, and we know that he probably doesn't have really much connection to them because they really never probably cared completely about him. And so he grew distant. He was lonely. And he was forced to mature and grow up at a very young age. And it's something sad to see, because that would mean a kid would have to give up their childhood. They couldn't express themselves or be happy like a normal kid could. They had to focus on their future, the career path, and everything first before they could even focus on fun, which is displayed in the main male character's room. So let's talk about that. I kind of got into that a little bit in the first episode, but I want to kind of dive more into it. So, as I stated, our main male character, Ray, he's someone that shows that he's an adult. He's mature. He has a job. He's making money. He's making a hell of a lot more money than some people, even teachers. But you can see that he has no passion. He has nothing that really makes him different. It just seems like he's going day by day just to live, and it's nothing else. He's just doing the necessary things to live as a human being, and nothing else, which is displayed in his apartment, his house, where he lives. Let's take, for example, his walls, or the lack of furniture. When you think of a kid, okay, a kid his age, what do you usually see? You usually see a desk, a computer, maybe some form of iPhone, or, iPod, whatever, music, maybe posters of a band, or your favorite show, something. But if you look at the main male character's walls, you don't see none of that. You just see an empty room, really. All he has is like a table, a shogi board, his refrigerator, and that's about it, in his little bed. He doesn't really have anything that you would normally do if you're a normal child of his age, or even an adult. He has nothing you can see that he has passion in. And you see how he's someone that just doesn't have anything. He doesn't have anything he really cares about. He cares about shogi, or he wouldn't be doing it, but at a young age, he literally had nothing that really he cared for. You even see an example in the second episode when he's sitting down and you see the books just floating up into the sky. Just everything that he might have been interested in just floated on away because he just didn't care anymore because of everything that he lost. He was lonely and he had no emotions anymore. And it's so sad when you think about what type of character he is and how lonely he is and how he was forced to grow up to be an adult even as a child. But to make matters worse, though, is we get a little bit of insight to some of his backstory. As we know, he's a child, so he's not really of the proper age to drink. So, at one point in time, he had some upper colleagues that, you know, took him out, and eventually they used him. They mooched off of him. They made the main male character, Ray, buy a bunch of different, you know, alcohol, beverages, and stuff like that, and pay for it at this place. They used him, they got him drunk, they forced him to drink, and they kind of just left him at the front of the, you know, the restaurant or whatever, the place, and just left him there and said, like, fuck you, and they just walked on by and left after forcing him to pay for everything. And you get to see an example of how the main male character, he doesn't know how to have company. He doesn't really have any friends. He has no one to really mingle with. And you see to where Akari, she finally meets the main male character. It's the little flashback. She meets him in front of the store, and she tries to help him out. You can see he's kind of, you know, drunk and all that. He can't really move. He's sick and all that. He was left there by his so-called colleagues or friends, and they just left him high and dry. Eventually, she decides to take him back with her at her place. And then eventually, as it carries on, he wakes up, he's sick, he has a hangover, and she helps him through it. And it's that scene alone that really added a lot of characterization for the character, Akari, and the main male character, because you gotta think about the situation here, okay? What type of person you have to be to do that for someone. Someone was drunk in front of the store, okay? They were in a hangover there by themselves, his friends left him, and when she comes out, she sees him like that, and she takes him home. That right there is something rare to see from someone. That's a kind-hearted gesture. But then to go even further, this man is sick. It's probably his first time drinking. He was forced to drink, and he feels like throwing up. She says, you need to throw up to feel better, and she actually helps him out, puts a finger down his throat, and makes him throw up to help him out. And before this was to help him out because, you know, he was drunk, or had a bad hangover. And it's so sad to see. And the way it was displayed was that she was able to see through his mature outer self. As I've already stated earlier on in this video, he's a character at first glance, he seems very mature for his age. He's someone that was forced to grow up. But Akari, she was able to see what type of person he really was. He was a lonely person that didn't really take care of himself. He was, you know, someone that just didn't really care at all. And she decided to help him out. And she saw what type of pathetic state he was in and took care of him. So, in a way, she was acting more of like a motherly figure to him throughout this episode. And it makes me appreciate her character. And I mean, as a person in general, that's such a kind thing to do for a complete stranger. But on top of that, though, the way she still cares for him, the way she kind of said, oh, you're eating Instacup noodles and stuff, you know, you should come over and eat, the way she cooks for him, asking him to come over, it's just such a sweet thing. And I feel like the main point of this series is definitely the characters. It's a character-driven story, and it's such a fantastic story the way it's being displayed with these comedy scenes to these dark, depressing themes. It's great. It's something I'm truly appreciating and enjoying throughout my journey so far. And gotta say, I like so far what I've gotten. I mean, I like the, you know, the characters, new colleagues that the main male character got, his so-called new friends now. They're definitely a hell of a lot better than what he had in the past, supposedly. Those, you know, colleagues that used him and got him drunk and then just left him like that, they're a hell of a lot better. So, yeah, episode of this series, March. Yeah, it might be one of my favorites of this season. I'm not even joking. I mean, obviously Drifters is my #1, and JoJo is also a really great series, so is Haikyuu. But besides those series that I knew would be good if animated right, the surprise dark horse of fall 2016 of anime, I think, is this series, because it just stands out to me. It's something that I don't think many is going to like, because it doesn't have action, and I know many need that, you know, hardcore beaten action shit. I'm fine. I like my action too, but I do like these mature stories. I like these slow-paced and mature stories, and this is my type of, you know, stuff I like to watch. This that has a really good plot to it, good characters, and that's what I'm seeing so far displayed, and so definitely sticking with this series, and definitely enjoying it so far. So I want to ask, anime onlys, how do you feel about the series so far? Do you enjoy this series? Do you hate this series? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.